How does divorce affect children? I'm Daniel Jennings, and today we're going to answer that question. For many years now, sociologists have been studying the effects of divorce on children, and what they have found has been absolutely horrifying. Children of divorce are much more likely to suffer in a wide variety of ways than children whose biological parents stay together. For example, boys whose parents divorce are 3 times as likely to consider suicide, and children whose parents divorce in general are twice as likely to eventually commit suicide. They are 50% more likely to develop health problems such as asthma, and 25% more likely to experience injury. Teenagers not living with both parents are 300% more likely to need psychological help than those living with both parents. They are twice as likely to drop out of high school. They are twice as likely, if they're a female, to become pregnant as a teenager, and almost 5 times more likely to live in poverty than are children who live with both married parents. In a lot of cases, parents after the divorce decide to end up getting remarried, and this opens a whole new set of problems for the children. Researchers have discovered that stepchildren are much more likely to be physically abused or emotionally abused by a step-parent. Children who live with a single parent and a step-parent or a live-in partner are 20 times more likely to be sexually abused than children who live with both biological parents. Children with a step-parent are at least 17 times more likely to die from intentional violence or accident. And the abuse has become so noticeable from step-parents to step-children that it's even been given a name, and it's referred to as the Cinderella Effect. Any way you look at it, divorce sets children up for extreme difficulties that they never should have to go through. And you might ask the question, you might say, well, as soon as they grow up, does it end? And the sad truth is that no, it does not end as an adult. Psychologist Judith Wallerstein followed children of divorce from the 1970s into the 1990s. She interviewed them at 18 months, 5 years, 10 years, 15, and 25 years after the divorce. And she expected that she would find that these kids just bounced back, that, maybe it was rough at the beginning, but eventually they got over it. But what she found was absolutely terrible. Even 25 years after the divorce, these kids who were now adults were still struggling psychologically from the effect that the divorce had had on them. 25 years later! I mean, that's absolutely terrible. And, when these kids as adults were looked at, it was discovered that their lives as adults were just as messed up as they were when they were kids. When these children marry, if one spouse came from divorced parents, the couple could be up to twice as likely to divorce. If both spouses came from divorced families, they were 3 times more likely to divorce. Adult children of divorce tend to have lower paying jobs and less college than their parents. And one study discovered that the children of divorce actually lived 4 years less than children whose parents did not divorce. Any way you look at it, divorce is one of the worst things that you can put a child through. And so what that shows us is that when we're faced with difficulties in our marriage, and especially when we have children, we need to do everything we can to keep that marriage together for the sake of those children. Because when all is said and done, there is very little that can be done to a child that will actually affect it worse than the experience of going through a divorce will. I'm Daniel Jennings, and this has been another life lesson.